On April 29th, NetherGames finally announced the closure of their server. And yeah, the time has finally come. They are finally shutting down. And by June 28th, the server will be closed forever. Now, as shocking as this sounds, I knew it was coming. But why? Why is NetherGames shutting down? In this video, I expose the lies, the deception, the corruption, the hypocrisy, the discrimination, and the toxicity behind this server in the history they don't want us to know. But let's jump back a bit. NetherGames originally started as an idea in 2016, and then after slowly grew from a small server into something more larger that we know today. And in 2017, that was when the server was officially published. It was out. And in 2020 to 2023 is when the server really started to kick off. 2024, however, is when NetherGames started to just nosedive. It just lost its quality and things went downhill from there. The player base went down, popularity went down, and overall playability went down too. Now, these were all due to some big factors. Now, besides all this, there's still the question, why are they shutting down? Now, in Callum and Jury's, their own words, their claimant is they have finished university, so they want to move on with their life. They want to close the chapter. They want to move on. However, this is true. However, it's a very small part of the reason. So, in a nutshell, NetherGames is closing because of the history. Because they have no money, they don't have no players, there's no staff. And I don't want this video to sound like a rant, so I have to kind of show you the evidence and show you what's been happening in the past. So, let's start from the beginning. For a few years in the earlier stages, NetherGames has been completely copying and ripping off of Hypixel, and you can see this because there are tons of videos of people playing on NetherGames in the past, in 2020 and these early years, and even now, the UI is still the exact same as Hypixel. I personally played in 2020, and it was everything. Even the maps were just a legit copy of Hypixel, and for such a long time, the staff refused to even acknowledge this. But the staff wouldn't even listen to the public. The staff does not listen to the players' ideas or comments they have, and they don't really care about what the players say, even if they have ideas to potentially make the server a better place for people. Now, of course, they have a channel where you can post ideas and guilds and whatever. The staff just don't give a shit about players. And that's why this server came crashing down so fast. Staff were abusing power, and, they were getting away with it. And it really drew players away because innocent players would simply get banned for absolutely nothing, while actual cheaters got no repercussions. And this is either because staff just didn't care about them, or staff didn't like the innocent people. Now, what I mean by this is staff abuse their powers. They will ban or punish someone just because they are angry and not out of an actual reason. Staff such as Not That Rit, or he goes also by the name Mr. Cat, Cruz, Admin Rat, DJ1I28. These people are prime examples. They exploit the moderation status for their own personal gain, and all these staff on NetherGames are loaded with toxicity, and they are straight up power-hungry fucks. And if it wasn't just staff abusing other players. No, it was their own staff against each other, and they would just turn on each other at every turn. Now, when it comes to compensation, this is another lie that falls under corruption, because on top of their hierarchy system, in the past to deal with funding issues, they have been doing little money grabbing schemes years ago. Now, I'm going to expand on this. Years ago, this YouTube channel named Pocket Gaming purchased a VIP rate equivalent to the legend rank. Now, since it was still at the time a ripoff on Hypixel, they use the same terms. Like, they legit use the same VIP and MVP names, right? So after Pocket Gaming bought his rank, which you would think it should stay on his account forever, it was stripped away from him when he changed his gamer tag, because NetherGames introduced a transfer fee where anyone changing their gamer tag would have to purchase this fee to keep the rank on their account. Now, this wasn't just to transfer the rank to another account. No, this was literally, if you were just changing your name, changing your gamer tag, you can keep your rank. Otherwise, they would strip it away from you. Later on, when other people found out about this and saw what NetherGames was doing, they completely backed up and fixed this, and they got rid of the fee right away. However, the damage was already done, and, this greatly ruined their reputation in the long run. Aside from ripping off of Hypixel as well, these are the things that would ultimately lead to the downfall, and also lead from NetherGames becoming a featured server. And in fact, according to their own claim in the final chapter, they had a meeting with Microsoft about becoming a featured server, to which they denied, and in their catalog, they said Microsoft stopped responding. Yeah, I wonder fucking why. Why do you think they stopped responding? Because you never would have eligibility to become a featured server. And not only the corruption, the doxing, this server stuff has doxed people in the past. They was doxing people in the Discord server, in the YouTube chat, and there's evidence of it all over the place. The NetherGames staff would dox players in YouTube streams and also in the general chat. And in fact, I would have made a video for this a lot earlier, and to be honest, I planned for it a lot earlier, but unfortunately, I was afraid they would leak they would dox me. I was afraid they would dox me, right? But since they are shutting down, it doesn't really matter anymore. But even if they dox me, it's fine. I got a 12 gauge, and, now on top of all that, the staff toxicity, the player suggestions, like the game changes, the reports, the bans, the ideas, all of these are getting disregarded, by the way. Any ideas, anything that the players want, any changes the players have, or ideas the players have, the staff don't give a shit out. The staff just lie and deceive the players to just keep their quote-unquote good legacy. Now, I should talk about the administrators. Now, according to Laser and some other sources on YouTube, Laser was the actual original founder, creator, and former executive of NetherGames. She was the original creator. However, he was fired by his own staff, and specifically one person named Chief, which there was a conversation about this, and he later explained this. And in the situation, this spread rumors, and people started calling him the neo-founder or something. But it's all shady. NetherGames has gone through founders, like I go through condoms, like it's crazy, dude. There's been so many founders or creators, because it's for sure that Challengeries, they are not the creators of NetherGames. They did not create a server, that's obvious. Now, I know someone that's quite close. I know them quite well, and they were actually a former administrator of the server. However, she was voted out and fired by his own people for absolutely no reason. NetherGames likes to just sweep these things under the rug. and like to hide what they've done. Now, they're closing in less than a month. And the owners claim they want to move on, right? That's what they said in the chapter. However, this is just a cover up. And yes, sure, that's true. But they intentionally left out the information about why they're closing. Main reasons are, there's no players, the server is just dead, and Dre's boy himself even told me they don't have enough money to keep the servers going. Now, in 2020 and 2023, these were the peak years, right? The amount of players were 3,000 online at a time, which is crazy. But for this server, it's crazy. For Hypixel, which, 3 million, which is 3,000 times that amount. Or shit, I can't do math. Shit. Now, at the time, the interface and gameplay was really good. It was playable. It was, during the time, it was fun. But this was also at a time when NetherGames had a conflict with Microsoft. But, of course, Microsoft was never going to make NetherGames and feature the server because of their past behavior, ripping off of Hypixel and stealing and doxing and corruption. So that's why they just refused. Now, the staff still abuse their own people. Now, the main staff that do this are Cruz, Mr. Cad, or not that bread, and Admin Rat. These booners, as well as some other moderators, just use their power for more evil than good. So many players are banned unjustifiably, and good innocent players just winning, while actual silent cheaters and hackers just get a lock. And this is something that made me pretty angry because I was one of the players that was banned for absolutely nothing. Now, I was banned from this server, and the punishment was for X-ray, which they had absolutely no evidence of. Besides, trust me bro, he's cheating, which, would never hold up in an actual professional sense. And I was even recording my gameplay at the time, and I post a lot of my gameplay of Murder Mystery, and after I was banned, I told a few other people about this, and it gained a little bit of popularity, and by the next day, the ban was lifted, and it was removed from the record. And another ban I received a few weeks earlier had the same exact instance, but instead it was from Frost Team and Band Wars. And as you know, there's so many teamers in Murder Mystery, and the game staff don't do a shit about it. But I wasn't even teaming, and I wasn't even playing Bed Wars, so they simply just put that punishment there to shut me up. And the ban was also lifted and wiped from my record a day later. This is the shit that they do, and this is the shit that brings the players away from the server. Now, let's talk about why are all the players leaving. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. Why are they leaving NetherGames? Why is the server dead? Now, the biggest points are gameplay and UI. Since 2024, a new entity was introduced, and there was new rules, new server domains, and they were testing a bunch of things. But the quality of the gameplay dropped a lot. And since then, when people leave, the server loses popularity. Server regions, the main region is actually the Asian Pacific region. On top of that, there's also the United States, the Europe, and especially the India region. However, the people far from the regions, like South Africa, South America, the latency is a big problem. And if you don't know what latency is, it's a measurement of lag, and ping is a measurement of latency. Now, the players, most of NetherGames' population is actually Indian, so, the connection is good for them, the latency is low, and the quality on mobile is just, it's way better. However, this infection of Indians just ruins the game for a lot of other people, and may cause us cross-teaming and toxicity, because there's so many toxic players on NetherGames. It is crazy, and staff do nothing about it. And yes, sure, people will be people. However, this is the main cause of cross-teaming. Now, the anti-cheat, well, the anti-cheat is a correction-based bot which works fucking horribly. So worst anti-cheat I have seen, by other people have seen, anyone has seen, either watching can cause you to glitch in the ground or glitch into a tree and just die and lose the game for nothing, right? It's almost unplayable. This has been known for such a long time between the developers and the players, and, I understand developing an anti-cheat is something really difficult, but you had a good anti-cheat and they replaced it with something really shitty. And for the instance of NetherGames, it's unacceptable. The developers and administrators still refuse to communicate with the players, which results to a large amount of reduced gameplay, which further lessening the player amount in popularity. So, why is the gameplay and the quality dropping? The biggest cause of the players leaving and the server being shut down is, well, the staff may tell you something different, but they won't admit to this, by the way. But what makes this really, really nail in the coffin is NetherGames has always been a kind of a budget server. They've always been a budget game. The staff, the moderators, designers, developers are all underpaid to the point. It's basically slaves. They claim it's a volunteer work, but the staff are slaves. I talked to Dree's boy about this, and he refused to talk to me about this because, he wanted to hide it. But in the past, there's been staff asking for raises, and, staff simply asking for compensation. They've been gosh, they kicked out and fired of their staff position. And it's every single staff member that are slaves to this. Now, if you look on their apply page, it clearly states that little children can work and manage the server, which is another reason this server went to shit. Now, this is what happens when you put children in charge of a business. It just doesn't work. And I know whose idea wasn't it to do this, but when 2024 came around, I knew the server was going to shut down. Like, that was the fucking tip-off. Like, it was done at this point. And yes, moderator and crew and trainer, these are all volunteer positions. However, developer, designer, and as well as builder, I believe are advertised as paid developers. They are advertised as paid roles. However, they're not paid. If they are paid, it's pennies. Mega Rabbi, I'm close talking to him, and she told me that over 4 years of work, she's only received just enough money to buy groceries for 2 weeks. She didn't give me an exact dollar amount, so I can't really say, but, she's Australian. You'll have to kind of figure that out, because I know their dollar doesn't go that far. However, I'll go back to the lag about this. Let's talk about the latency again, because I didn't expound on this a whole lot. There's so much lag on this server, it's almost unplayable. Now, their combat, they're claiming to this, and their lack of communication is basically, there's too many players, so it's overloading the server, which is a fucking lie. These staff just sit there fucking the dog and act like it's always the player's fault. And this is another reason why NetherGames could never become a featured server. Like, the gameplay is horrible. The unplayable gameplay and downfall coming from the lag, it all came from the lack of communication. I think it was late 2024, AFK was introduced, so if you were sitting in a lobby, UHC, NetherGames, Sky Wars, etc., whatever game, doesn't matter what game, there's 3 minutes waiting for a game to start, you would be kicked from the game. Now, NetherGames advertises that buying the legend rank will prevent you from being kicked while AFK. However, this is another false advertisement. It doesn't prevent you from being kicked while AFK. They made this up and you could see it for yourself. They literally advertising in their store. But this isn't the case. The players were pissed about this, and the staff made a server that was sort of dead and sort of playable into a server that was just straight up rotten and just fucking rigor mortis. Like the server's gone. It's like there's no bringing it back. They're punishing good act in essence. Players, they want to wait for a game to start. They're willing to be patient. However, the server just kicks them. They're like, no, you can't wait for a game. So that's why players are leaving. And they do this to themselves. But yeah, the staff still blame the players, and the staff know about all this, but yet they do nothing. They refuse to acknowledge it. They refuse to talk about it, and they just don't do anything about it. And funding. Funding is also a main reason why the server is closing. Due to a lack of funding, their combat to this was to almost double the cost of their ranks. When I bought my rank, I bought it for, I think, about 23 bucks. It was really, really cheap. And at the time it was 2023, I was doing good. NetherGames was doing good. And they made quite a lot of money. And in fact, from 2017 all the way to 2023, they made about, approximately 50,000 US dollars. Now, lately, since they have no money, when their combat was to double the price of everything, it made less people want to buy the ranks due to the excessive costs. And something I find really funny is even the highest ranking MVP rank on Hypixel doesn't even cost as much as the legend rank, which is pretty funny. Now, on top of all this, we have to talk about toxic staff, the toxic players, the arrogant people, and the people ruining the server. Now, the arrogant staff are the biggest reason. Cruz, Mr. Cat, or Not That Bread are two examples of the moderators that challenge their authority for the worse. They are toxic, disrespectful towards other players, and will mute or ban them for small things. However, they will speak their mind out even when it's worse, with no caution pretty much. So they get to say whatever they want, but they will ban people from speaking up. And the amount of inequality this server has is just unreal. It's like walking into a preschool. Now, some of these also been hiding from us in the form of deception or eavesdropping. Now, any staff, crew, moderator, any roles like this and above, they can see whispers, party chat, and every private message that you have with people. And I've witnessed this, and you can see so staff can actually see the party chat even if you have it private. And this is a huge breach of privacy. And this led to a lack of trust between staff and the players. And they intentionally hid these from us. And this is just not right. People should have a right to talk in private. Now let's talk about map rotations. This isn't really to do with corruption, but this is to do with playability. Map rotations, every season there are supposed to be a new sequence of maps released. Some old ones come back, some new ones come. And, however, the rotation hasn't happened for about 2 years now. No new maps have been added. No old maps have been, there's been no rotation. There has been no rotation. The only change is the pattern. Bringing back the older maps while making the playable maps unplayable. They take all the good maps, they put in the shitty maps. That's it. If they do anything, that's what they do. And it's not just that. There are tons of exploits and bugs all throughout the servers, and the administrators know about this, but they refuse to fix. Like, there are a lot of escapes. People, players, you can escape the maps. You can win by a simple bug in the map. And instead of NetherGames wanting to go ahead and fix the bug, they rather just ban the player for bug exploit, which is so fucking petty. Now, there is a few things to add about this on top of the toxic players and the toxic staff and the corruption they did. Now, I don't know absolutely everything about the part of this. However, Void does, and here is a clip of him talking about what totally is together and how some players exploited the moderation system and what has kind of happened. So here is what he has to say.
Ben and Tristan, which I'll just say Tristan because he was the main one to do it. I was saying he abused the moderation system because he was the one that told the staff team repeatedly. I've been told he told the staff team repeatedly over the course of years that that they should stat wipe Taka. That they should like look into it for which, by the way, that broke 3 of NetherGames staff because like they have rules set for themselves, like moderation and stuff. They broke 3 of their own rules to stat wipe Taco. But that's not. They never did it because they cared that he actually farmed. The reason why they did it was because Tristan wanted number 3 global wins without actually having to work for it. Akos, nobody accused him of cheating, but he was accused of boosting, which is 1,000% confirmed 100 times over. However, the rule against it was removed years ago. It's really funny because they both said, like, the whole staff team, they had been hyping up, like, the new anti-cheats coming soon. They're going to do a mass unban of everybody ever, like, permanently banned. They're all going to get banned. The punishments are going to be wiped. We're going to do this and that, and we're gonna bring the server back to life again. And they were hyping up the staff for so long, and then the staff kept hyping up the people for so long, and then after like 8 months and no change, they were all of a sudden just like, "Hey, staff members, we're going to be closing soon," and it's like you didn't fulfill anything you promised. The main thing I wanted to say earlier, but I didn't get to it, was about Taco being stat wiped. Is that Tobias was the one dealing with his case, and Tobias literally admitted in DMs with Taco, or like in the ticket or whatever. He admitted to Taco that they were bending the rules to punish him. So he basically just told him, "Yeah, we're just gonna yoink 83,000 of your wins." Bend several of our rules to do so because you're a podium player. The players on NetherGames were absolutely dog awful. These were like, I don't even know how I managed to play this server for so long. The players are so annoying and they're all retarded, bro. They piss me the frick off, bro. Like, it's not even just like these players are mean after they beat you in a game, bro. I left because they were so toxic, because they started being toxic to me as well. But they're not just toxic. It's like, hold on. Legacy's a bunch of doxers, cheaters, little e-daters, bro, that extort women for nudes. Like, it's literally all of them. Like, these people are awful. These people actually just commit crimes. And people just look past it and they're like, ew, but the staff are gross.
Now, the corruption, the deception, and the inequality ultimately led to the server's fate. However, all these negative things about the server doesn't mean it has to end here. You know, the first time I ever played on NetherGames was in 2020. And at the time, I was playing on Hypocrisy, but, you know, I wanted to play on Bedrock because performance was working better, and it was just a bit better than Java, at least for me. So I found the server NetherGames. I played here, and I see it advertised as Hypocrisy Bedrock server, and it was advertised as that. And I joined, I played Murder Mystery for a few hours, I left, and I didn't come back for about 3 years. I took a break from Murder Mystery, I stopped playing it, I stopped playing Minecraft in general. It was about late 2022 when I started to get back into Murder Mystery, and I started to search for other servers to play on. I remember I came across NetherGames, so I rejoined it, and I played and played and played, and 2023, you guys, was probably the best year of Minecraft for me. It was probably one of the best years of my life. I met a lot of cool and amazing people on this server. It's genuinely sad to see this server ending like this. However, I knew it was coming. Good things never last forever, and NetherGames is not an exception.